All right, I hit the button. Okay. I guess the first minute is for YouTube people only because it takes a while for Twitch to start streaming and people have to come in and stuff. So, what is this all about? So, I am streaming live on Twitch and recording this for YouTube, and I'm working on a game. So, the game isn't playable yet. It's going to be a multiplayer online role-playing game, reminiscent of Ultima 5, which is a game I really liked playing when I was a kid. So it's going to be retro 2D pixel art. It's going to be in browser though, with game servers on the back end. And I hope to put in a whole bunch of stuff into the game, but first I have to get the infrastructure up and running. So I started streaming back in June and spent about 50 something streams making my own web server in C++. And every time I stream, I have a little plan and I take notes and stuff. So for 50 something streams, I made my own web server. And then I decided I wanted to do something fun with it. So I've always wanted to make a game. And I thought, let's take the web server and the other tech like WebSockets and other things I made and apply it to make a back-end infrastructure for a multiplayer game. And then for the front end, hey there, Riley Monkey. For the front end, I thought, hey, great opportunity to learn the modern JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, or Vue, and pixel art as well. We'll get to that. I'm just looking to see what my cat's doing. He's planning to take over the world, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm going to be learning a lot on stream in JavaScript and React for the front end of my game. On the back end, I'm not learning as much, although I do still learn a thing or two every stream. But I'm more kind of established and comfortable on the back end with C++ with some Lua in there. We'll see that in a bit. So this page I should really show for anyone who hasn't seen this before. It's sort of the overall architecture of a multiplayer system. So your client will be running in a web browser and connecting into the game server through a WebSocket, which is an upgraded form of a web connection. It's bidirectional and asynchronous. It's really nice. And each of these is a separate copy of the game. This together I call a cluster. Someone had a good comment yesterday. It's cool to see someone who has lots of years in one area. Not hesitate to try learning something new. Yeah. And hi, Hideo. So I'm just recapping for people who haven't seen this before what the heck I'm doing. I'm okay. I still have a cold, which means I'll probably be coughing once in a while and sipping more water. But the weekend's here, right? So yeah, this is what I call the game server cluster. Each server here has its own individual copy of the game state. They connect to each other and continuously keep each other refreshed. There's an algorithm that I implemented. Not my algorithm, but a bunch of much more smart people invented it, called Raft Consensus algorithm. And I've implemented that, and I'm using that to keep these servers in sync and also to have them pick one server to be the leader. The leader is what the client is showing you connecting to. It makes the final decision, it replicates its state to the other servers, and then I have a smaller server on the back end here to start up and shut down servers as I need them. Hey there, Mr. Muffles. How's it going? Since Mr. Muffles is here, I'm going to give him a shout out because I really like watching his stream. Mr. Muffles is developing a game that reminds me a lot of, what was it again? Ghosts and Goblins? It's a Metroidvania style game in Unity, and it's great to have him here in my stream too. So you're not going to see a whole lot of game development on my stream for a while. I'm still setting up the raw infrastructure, the foundation, so to speak. So if this isn't your thing, I understand. Maybe come back in a few months and I'll be actually doing game stuff. But right now it's going to be a lot of back-end work, a lot of debugging, multi-threading issues, deadlocks, that kind of thing. And on the front end, I'm going to be kind of stumbling around with React. And I get a lot of help from you guys. So it's fun for me. If it's fun for you too, stick around. Otherwise, I don't mind. There's lots of other streamers out there. So let's see, do I want to peek into the Realm server architecture and talk about that? So this HTTP server up here is a web server. It took me about 55 streams to develop that, mostly from scratch. You reused a few little things here and there. I have a WebGate component that aggregates together 3 copies of this because we have a private backend server, a public one, and then a well-known port for the cluster leader. So the coordinator uses that WebGate to kind of, broadcast messages or receive messages from different places, and it uses the raft algorithm, which I have separately because I want this to be reusable and useful for other people outside of my game. It uses that to connect to other servers, figure out who's the leader, that kind of thing. And I haven't yet gotten to the rest of the game, but essentially the game state is a traditional server state set of objects, a hierarchy of objects, with one new thing for me, which is that this collection of objects will be built incrementally using a journal, also known as a log, of commands on what to change to the state. So you can imagine we start out with nothing, and the first command will be create a realm. Second command might be create a zone in the realm, and it builds on top of it continuously. There'll end up being millions of journal entries that if you executed them in order, you could recreate the game from nothing. And that's important because the raft algorithm requires you to represent your state changes as a sequence of log entries. So this journal will be where we keep that log. The executor is going to take the journal entries and execute them or run them to change the state of the game. And then we'll have an extra component here called reconciler to figure out the order in which we want to put journal entries in, and toss out ones that don't make sense. So it's sort of like the judge. So that's a pretty high up viewpoint. We haven't gotten any of these things today. I'm just going to be working on the coordinator and then a client that I call the admin console that we can peek in and see what the coordinator is doing. So I have this for the plan today. It maybe isn't so exciting, but it's stuff that we need to do, kind of like yesterday. It's kind of like we're plumbing out the foundation, so to speak. We need to do it though. So I did find a deadlock in one of my tests, in one of my test fixtures actually. I need to go fix that. And I want to be able to handle in the console right now when the server is killed, we lose a connection and it doesn't reconnect. I kind of wanted to automatically reconnect. And then I kind of wanted to go and tune the log levels of diagnostic messages so I only see what I really want to see. Because when I set up those messages, I kind of guessed almost at random what levels seemed to make sense. And now I want to kind of tune them so that by default I see what I normally would want to see, but I still want to be able to turn up the level or turn it down. And I want everything to kind of fit. So I also want to, again, I want to be able to control it from the admin console. Right now we can't. I think after this, if I have time, maybe I should write this. If I have time, we'll get to this. Support reconfiguration. That's going to be a lot of work because if you can imagine, the reconfiguration might include adding 2 more servers. So what do we have to do there? Not just start up the servers, but we have to bring them into the cluster, and there's a special change to the raft algorithm to do that. But we could at first support simpler reconfiguration changes like changing port numbers, changing the name of the realm, stuff like that. So if I have time, I should say start work on supporting. So yeah, if you're watching this now on Twitch and you have any questions, just let me know. I also have some commands to explain certain things, like there's a link to the landing page on what the game is, and there's other commands too. So yeah, once again, I generally make a plan. It's taking me longer to put this together, so I end up starting late. So I'm still kind of getting a sense of how much time I need to spend. It's like I tried to spend 4 hours streaming, but there's like at least a half an hour before and half an hour after. So it adds up to like 5 hours plus. And why do I make all these notes? So it helps me organize, and it gives you guys an idea if it's something you're interested in watching. If you're looking at this and thinking, I don't think it's gonna be interesting. Well, then this will help you move along and not waste time watching me, right? Or if you have questions about what I'm gonna do, just ask. So let me fix this deadlock first. So I have a coordinator test, is testing the coordinator, obviously. And for that, I mock everything else around the coordinator. And one of the things we mock is a connection. And one of the things it's not doing correctly, it should be handling a certain method called send data asynchronously. It's not, it's doing it synchronously. That's causing deadlocks because it's technically violating the requirements of that method, that it be asynchronous, that it not block. So we're gonna go fix that. Realm server, test. It's going to be difficult to reproduce, but if I just force it right now to be asynchronous, it'll probably break the test, and I'll fix the test, and then it'll probably just avoid the deadlock. That's hard to reproduce altogether. I don't even know. Let's see if I can recreate it at all. I was recreating it by running this until it just kind of locks up. Yeah, see, it's just passing and not locking up, so I'm not going to count on being able to reproduce it. We'll just fix the send message, send data. So instead of calling this delegate directly, we're going to have to queue this data up and then call this from another thread. So let me think about this. How many mock? I guess it's okay. We can just have a thread per mock connection. Why not? And then I think I'm going, okay, I already have future. I'm going to use future to signal the thread when it needs to stop. Oh, already my camera's messing up. Hold on a moment. The lighting in my stream setup is still kind of not good, especially on a cloudy day like today. Sunny day, it's a lot better. I'm not getting enough light, and I'm not, and the light isn't evenly distributed, so it's hard to get the blue screen to completely fade out without fading me out. I mean, that's what it looks like without the filter. You can see the blue isn't really even. Trying to, actually, I guess if I pick a slightly lighter color, I help. What I'm trying to avoid is that pixelated blue above my head there, right? Without doing that, I'm fading away. Okay. Sorry, it's a little bit distracted. So I think what I want to do here is give it a constructor. And the constructor will just start the thread. Yeah, so oh, we need to have a thread. Worker. I'm not going to bother commenting it because it's a mock. I try to comment properties and the original definition of a method. I can't jump to that and show you, but that would be here. I like to document all those, but if it's a mock, part of a test framework, it's sort of a second class object. It maybe doesn't need any kind of comment. Worker equals standard thread. And let me think about this. We need to have a shared state. This is sort of a pattern that I don't know if it's an official pattern, design pattern, but I'm kind of falling into it. That if you have an object that's multi-threaded, and you have state that might be shared between the object and then things that the object pans out, like threads or callbacks, that those things need to go into a structure that you hold on to with the shared pointer. That way, it's the lifetime of these properties can be longer than the lifetime of the class itself, and without problems. I used to just, here's what I used to do. I used to say the name of the class, worker, and then just pass this. and then I would use the this pointer. But it might mean it's not safe if this is destroyed in the destructor, right? So I'm more likely these days to just pass in this shared. Although, will it let me do that? I think it will. So we just need to make this worker static. Hold on a sec. I save you guys from hearing me cough. Instead, you hear my wacky, what do you call it? On mute music? Is this recapped in the notes? Just the way you go about multi-threading these? No, not really. I might want to make a short video on that. Thank you for putting that in context because I can just paste it. Consider making a short video and command. All right. Yeah, I should do that. I did that the other day or yesterday for, what was it? I just did it too. I look at my own notes to figure out what I did. DevOps. So if you wanted to hear my philosophy on DevOps, I clipped that yesterday. Oh, that's a long text there. Oh well, anyway. So worker thread. That's how we started. And then in the destructor, actually, the way I like to do this is rule of 5. So I call it life cycle. And the rule of 5, if I can pull this from a good place. Not there. Well, no. Here. Lifecycle methods. The idea is that if you have a custom destructor, then you want to also at least declare how you want the other 4 members of this gang to be implemented. If any, the rule of 5 or 0 is if you need to have a non-default of any of these 5, then you say what the other 4 are as well. So the 5 are destructor, copy constructor, move constructor, copy assignment, and a move assignment. So I can say here, well, I don't need them to be copied, but we can say when you move it, just use the default. Actually, if it's got a worker, let's make it not movable as well. We're saying it can't be copied or moved, and when we destroy it, we're doing something custom, which is this. So I'm going to say if, this is another part of the pattern, if standard this thread get ID equals worker dot get ID, then worker dot detach, else worker dot join. And I also want to have a promise. Which we don't need an actual value. It's stop, worker stopped. Okay, and the idea here is we would say worker stopped dot set, or worker asked to stop, that's right. Set value, yes. And then in the worker thread, we'll basically wait until, we'll see if this has been set, and if it has, then we return. Otherwise, we continue. So that'll be done here. So we have to say, oh, I have to put that in the shared properties. That was the whole point of this thing. There we go. I also need to make it like that. I can say this. I don't have to do anything weird in the constructor. Okay, so auto, we'll call it the receiver end of that promise would be what? Worker was asked. Worker asked to stop. Worker ask worker to stop. No. Bad with words. A lot of developers I've seen struggle with naming things. I want this is going to be the future version of this. So shared worker asked to stop dot get future. The future is the receiving end, and the promise is the sending end. So I want to use a word that means that we are asking, and then this is that it was asked. What if we just call it ask worker to stop? And then we'll call this worker was asked to stop. So imperative and past tense. I want to kind of get this just figured out for once and for good, because then I'll include it in writing up this general pattern. So it'll be while worker was asked to stop dot wait for this. This is sort of a hacky thing. Chrono seconds 0 equals standard future status. I need to say not equal to. So you basically poll it, wait for no time. If it's ready, that means we set its value and we're asking it to stop. The reason I have this logic up here is it's not safe to join a thread that you're in, you can't join yourself. So if in the case where the last reference or the connection itself is being destroyed from the worker thread itself, we'll just detach the thread, which is fine because the only thing the worker thread has access to is the shared properties, which are its lifetime could be longer than the connection itself. Okay, so the only work for this will be that it should let me think about this. Okay, maybe I need more than the future, because I want to move this code here into here, but I don't want the worker thread to consume too much CPU, so I kind of, instead of polling all the time, I think I want it to actually wait until it's signaled. So a signal like that, I would need a condition variable. Yeah, so I have one. And condition variable would go in the shared properties. So work to be done. And then we'll actually put the Q here. DQ? Actually, it could just be a Q. QRS, right? Q of, I think it just needs to be strings right now, right? And this is data to send. And yeah, I need a mutex. So mutex, because why not? Promise and future are already thread safe. We don't need to worry about that. So the mutex basically protects the condition variable and the queue. So when we're going to send, actually it's this whole thing I want, right? Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just tunnel in this data receipt delegate. That's what I'll do. So we'll put that. Actually, let's put it in with that. So struct data to send. There'll be the delegate to call, and then the actual data. How about receiver? Or receive. I like to make the name include the fact that it's a callback. Or delegate is sort of just a fancy upper class way of saying callback. So yeah, so we'll form it in here. We will say data to send dot receive delegate is peer data receive delegate, and then data send dot data is data, and then shared. Actually, here I need the lock, right? Lock guard. Lock guard's a nifty little thing that you can use to temporarily lock a mutex. It unlocks it when it gets destroyed. Decal type lets me avoid saying the type of the mutex. Because the lock guard, it's a template, and its template argument is the type of the mutex that you're locking. All right. Shared data to send dot push standard move data to send. And then we don't do that. Instead, we're going to signal the work to be done. Notify 1. So this is the sender of the, why is this, it doesn't like, oh, it's a vector, okay. It's a vector of, it's not a string. Anyway, this is the sender for the condition variable. The receiver is a wait. So it's similar to the promise and feature, only you have to protect it with the mutex in order to prevent races. And it doesn't have any data in and of itself like a promise might. You have to have, it's just a signaler. Yeah, it's not a string, is it? It's a vector of bytes. Okay. Oh, I'm getting lost. Okay, here we go. So basically it says if the other guy doesn't actually has registered a delegate, then while holding the lock, we set up a little parcel which has a copy of that delegate. This might race. Maybe what we want to do is just do this always and then put that if inside the other place. So anyway, we record the function we're going to call, the data we're going to send, and then we are putting that into the queue and sending the signal. So the worker thread will be listening for that signal, and every time it wakes up, it'll check this to see if it's not empty. If it's not empty, it'll take these out and deliver it. Let's do that. So I'll change this into a while. Oh, well, we have to have a lock, of course. We can do that here. And it has to be unique lock. Unique lock is a little bit more than a lock guard. I don't know about these names, lock guard, unique lock. Unique lock you can just think of as a lock guard that's a little bit more expensive, but it lets you temporarily unlock, which is what the condition variable actually does. So we can say, while shared work to be done dot wait, and the wait, you give it the lock. We give it, yeah, we can just say give it the lock, right? That's the most generic way of waiting. So the first thing we'll do is this check if we're told to stop, we'll just return. Or maybe it's just better to break. That way we can have some cleanup if we want down here. And then we can say while not shared data to send empty. Actually, what I want to do is release the lock. I want to pull off the queue, release the lock, and then process the stuff so that we're not holding. We don't want to hold the mutex when we call delegates. That's one of the rules of this pattern. This will eventually go in there. Why doesn't it not like this? Especially must have a bool type. Oh, because wait, right. So I can actually turn this around, can't I? I can do this and then put this condition back in the while. Then I don't need a break. That's because wait doesn't return anything. It just always waits. And I don't need that. So every loop, we're going to wait for something to happen. At the top of the loop, if we were woken up because we were asked to stop, then we'll leave. By the way, this also means I need to signal the work to be done up here. Can do it inside of a block so that we don't do a join while we have the mutex. We just do that. It's probably safe to put that in there as well. There we go. So while holding the mutex, we set the promise that we ask them to stop, and then we notify the worker thread that to wake up. So exiting counts as work to be done now. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to unlock. But we need to remember to lock again before we loop again. And then what I wanted to do before unlocking is grab a copy of this. So decal type that data to send, and then data to send swap with shared data to send. So we basically make a new empty queue and we swap it with the potentially full one. And then we're going to empty it while not data to send empty. Is it const auto? Yeah. I don't like the way I named this though. It's a queue. Data to send. Queue. That's what I wanted to name it. Took me a minute to figure that out. Name that temporary one the same thing. I wanted to call this data to send. Equals data to send queue top. And then data to send dot. Help me out here. IntelliSense? It's not. It's going to be receive delegate data, right? And then data to send queue dot pop. Or maybe it's not top. Is it front? Right. For a stack, it's top. For a queue, it's front. So we take it off. We look at the top, the front of the queue, and we take the data in there and send it to the receiver, and then we pop it off of the queue. Pop it from the queue. We do that until it empties. Then we regrab the lock and go wait again. This is queue, isn't it? There we go. Okay, so all that rigmarole, now it should be asynchronous. Rigmarole. Hopefully it compiles, yes. So it broke a bunch of stuff, probably because I made it asynchronous. So now I have to go back and fix a lot of these tests. It's asynchronous, so that means things are going to race between the main thread and the networker thread. So for example, 664. So to fix races, we have to wait. Right, I think it's because close ends up sending a text saying goodbye, and we are not waiting for it. So I can do the trick that I did before with the coordinator. I can say client, what is it called? Wait for at least one worker loop. We just need to make that a method. Oh, we can't have that. Oh, it's the oh, okay, I can't. This won't quite work. Because it's not the WebSocket that has the mock. It's not the mock. It's the connection the WebSocket. The connection the WebSocket is using is mocked. We get the connection. Oh, we do have the connection. Ah, we're saved. So we connect the connection underneath the WebSocket to wait. Yeah. We basically want to have this run once so that we empty the queue, right? So we'll make a function for that. And I already did this in the coordinator, so let me just completely steal that code. And it just becomes, we just remove these impls and introduce the variables that we need. So we need this worker loop completion. So that's a shared promise. Shared pointer to a promise, right? And then that's one end. That's one end, and then the worker thread has to do the other end. So that's at the top of the loop, we need to check that flag. Well, after the wait, really. If that, well, hold on. I think we just say, yeah, this variable equals that condition. And then I can just then copy this almost like boilerplate down to here. And then there's an extra one if it was the last loop. So basically, if we're at the top of the loop here and we just woke up, we check to see if another thread is waiting for us to do a loop. If so, this becomes true, so that when we get to the bottom of the loop, then we set the promise, which the other guy's waiting on, and then release it. And in the one case where we got that, and for whatever reason, actually, I don't think it's possible here. It won't exit out and see that, will it? Oh, actually it will. If let's say we're at this line and then the other thread sets that up, this will be false still. And then it might go to the top and say, okay, we were asked to stop. We need to at least do it one more time here, this setting it. Otherwise the other thread will get stuck. That's if in other words, the last loop never happened. Okay. So all that rigmarole should let that one test pass. Now that test was unidentified private connection dropped when disconnected. Oh, it's locking up. Sorry, it was me coughing. Unidentified private connection. Let me think about this. I might be asking the wrong connection to wait. Well, it should still just wait once. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna run it in the debugger to see what's going on. Let's clear out. Actually, no. Well, yeah, I do need to clear out the breakpoint. So let's run it and see. Wait until it locks up. It didn't even lock up. What's going on here? Oh, I might have a filter applied. Yeah, I do. Okay. Remove filter. Run. Okay, see, it's locked up. So then I can hit break here. See where it is. Yeah, so it's something's wrong with what I just wrote. Ooh, I got a lot of threads. I think this is it though. Oh, it's waiting for stuff to do. Okay. That's not good. Oh, because it's, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong variable. This one. Okay, it's empty. Okay, Oh, yeah, okay, I figured it. I think I know. When we do this, I never actually signal that in case it was waiting there. So let's do that. So it's this dot notify one. Hey, Romani, hate. It's going okay. I got a cold, so I'm having to mute the mic and sip water and cough, and it sucks. And right now I'm just making something asynchronous in one of my unit tests so that I don't cause a deadlock by. I'm using this mock, and this method send data is supposed to be asynchronous, and it wasn't, so I'm making it asynchronous by taking the thing to be done and putting it into a queue and having a worker thread up here which empties the queue. So still getting stuck though. It shouldn't get stuck, should it? Let me think about this. Oh, did I not build? I did build. This should wake up the worker thread. Oh, unless it was. Unless it was in this region, actually. I think I need to have. Yeah, I think I need to qualify this wait. I think this was a bad idea to have a wait that's unqualified. So we need to qualify the wait by having a little function object. Shared. So we basically say, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for either this to happen. So let's put it in its own little area here. Formatting. Or this to be true. Or false, really. That not to be equal. Or this to be not empty. Those are all the things we're waiting for. Why did it not like that? Oh, because... Oh, this is gonna suck because that's a future. Okay. Yeah, maybe it was a bad idea to mix a condition variable with a future in the first place. So let's get rid of the future. I'll just make it into a bool. Worker asked to stop. Or just stop worker. Then we just protect it with the mutex and condition variable. We don't need to do this. Actually, this becomes a little bit simpler. And this also becomes simpler. Wait a minute, what is it complaining about? Oh, that's an old, that's the compiler error from the last compile, and IntelliSense doesn't know I changed the code. All right. Right, where we stop it needs to change too. Stop worker equals true. Yeah, I mean, if you're already using a condition variable, you don't need a promise. Just makes things more complicated. Well, that's weird. Why is it so slow? All of a sudden. It's really slow. Gosh, I don't know why it's so slow. It's getting slower and slower. I wonder if it's some kind of runaway race of threads. Let me run in the debugger and I'll see it. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we're creating threads and we're never destroying them. That's not good. That probably hurt my stream too. My mouse froze. Not good. Not good to be spawning all these threads that are not dying. Let's look at one of them. What? There's something here that shows me how many things have a lock, right? It's shared. Can I look at shared? What are these? These are old. Go away. Git. Git, I say. Okay. I was hoping that would tell me how many references there are. It's not telling me what I want to know. Oh, there we go. 2 strong references. Okay. That means the object was never destroyed. Bad news. Why not? Huh. Well, I should stop the thing. Is this destructor never getting called? Yeah, it's never getting called. Why not? Oh. Yeah, that's bad. The connections have a circular reference. because they're going to be tied together. That's not going to work. We need to make that a weak pointer, right? Make sure. Where do I use the peer? Means that leak was there all along. So that's okay as long as we hold these strong references, but does that go away? Actually, I guess the WebSocket will end up holding the strong reference, so that should be fine. So weak pointer it is. So here we need to promote it. So well, what's a good time to do that? Right here. So const auto peer. Let's call it peer weak. That should highlight all the places that I need to go and fix it. If peer is null, then just return. It means your other end of the connection doesn't exist. Not weak like a 7 days, weak like a weak pointer. There we go. Go do this pattern everywhere now. Oh, I might have to make this asynchronous as well. Probably should. You're weak. You are weak. Pointer, you are weak. I'm going to run this in the debugger and make sure the number of threads doesn't go crazy. Okay, now it's better, I think. Maybe not. No, not good. What am I doing wrong? This never, let me see. Is it never destroyed now? Well, it's being destroyed. Bring that over to here. Only disappears each time I hit go. Okay, it's being destroyed. Only not all the time. Hold on, why is it sitting there? Stop workers false. That's empty, and that's also empty. So how did it ever get out of that wait? Oh, I had that logic backwards. It's also probably why it's taking so damn long. It should be, well, wake up if we're asked to stop, or this has been set, or that's not empty. Right, okay. Stupid mistakes I do all the time. Ooh, got a crash. Retry. What happened? Oh, I think this is another one of those races. I think we accessed it while the collection was being changed. Because we didn't wait for this stuff to happen. Yeah, okay, that I guess I kind of expect that. I'll just ignore that happens. Okay, well it's gonna crash early. I have to do that wait for one loop thing and all these tests to guard against these races. But it got past the one where I do have the guard, which is good. Whoops. Actually, I guess I don't need that open. Wait for one loop. So that's where we guarded one test. I should just go look through and see that all of them are guarded. That doesn't need one. That does need one. Doesn't need one. This one needs one. Basically, whenever we're doing something that's going to result in a send data, we'll need to do that. Here it's slightly different. It's con client 2. And that's, oh, I already lost my clipboard. There we go. Client, yeah. There we go. I'll need to do it once, even though we send twice or do multiple things, because it'll drain the queue and do multiple things if it needs to. None of these actually send anything from the WebSocket. This does. This will also need to wait, won't it? It'll be the server end. And this is first connection.con server, right? And then another one here. I'm getting there. Okay, yes. There. And then here as it's con server. I know I'm not getting them all. Hey, I'm being hosted by Gareth Hubble. Thanks for the raid. Ah, being raided. Ah! I'm not familiar with Gareth Hubble. I'll have to check out your stream later. So, how is your stream? How are you doing? And what do you do? I'm gonna go into my notebook and leave myself a note to check out your stream later. Check out this stream. I'm just gonna paste the message that you put there. You normally don't like web streams. Oh yeah, well, right now I'm doing back-end test improvements. So because my game is so new, I'm going to be doing a lot of infrastructure setup in the back end. So that's why in my title I put both React and C++, because the C++ is all the back end stuff. But I might flip later in the stream to doing React when I'm doing the front end admin console for the servers. Yeah, let me know what you normally stream, or I'll just look at your stream later. And if you want me to go over the game, I will. But there was linked a little bit ago, right? No. So let me spam the command. So it's going to be a multiplayer game in the what do you say? Inspired by old games like Ultima 5, which I really enjoyed playing. And there's no game yet. I'm just setting up the server infrastructure. And this thing I'm working on the test for is called the coordinator. It's the one part of the server that connects to the other servers and figures out who's going to be the leader and all that stuff. We're working on F# and Xamarin Farms. Ooh, cool. We're using Rust. Yeah, you know, I've seen a lot of other streamers using Rust. It's one of those things on my to-do list to learn more about. Nice. Sounds awesome. We'll have to check out your stream later. Let's see. Cool. Hi and stuff. Nice systems programming. Yeah, I like mixtures of things. I try to do that here too. It's a mixture of low-level backend stuff and high-end, upper-level front-end user interfaces and everything in between. My stream is about making stuff from scratch because that's what I've always enjoyed doing. So I'm building this game off of a web server which I wrote myself on stream. So bitten the bullet and learning C. Ultima 5 I think was my favorite in the Ultima series. Yeah. But it's more nostalgic. I bet if I played it today I'd be like, this graphics is so primitive. But yeah. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going through the tests for coordinator and one of the things that I'm mocking in the test framework was making a synchronous call, but it was supposed to be asynchronous. I made it asynchronous and it broke things because like here where we send a text through a WebSocket, which is now asynchronous, and so we can't just look at the side effects of the test immediately. We have to tell, whoops, didn't mean to paste your message. We need to tell the mock connection underneath that WebSocket to wait at least one loop to process those asynchronous calls. And at that point, the things we're checking side effects for should be there. I'm going through and hopefully I'm doing the right thing, but that's one reason why I'm doing my programming using test-driven development like that, is that once I get the test to work, I know that the use cases are implemented correctly, as long as my tests are correct. You have to have a balance. Cool. F# Xamarin stuff giving you some performance problems. Okay. Performance issues are always kind of tough. I try to only address performance issues when I get the code working and designed well. And hopefully by that point, you don't have many performance issues, but when you do, they're kind of tricky sometimes. Yes, so this just flushed the buffer there, and then when the Raft announces that, it's going to end up as a server-side asynchronous message. So again, that's server, and these are client-side. I think I'm getting down to the end. I can run these tests. I tried to do test-driven development, but I still feel like I'm not that good at it. I have a mentor who I learned test-driven development from, and I don't work with them anymore because we went to different companies. But when I was working with them, I tried to learn as much as I could, and I still feel like I still have a lot to learn. Like he'd probably look at these tests and say, these are horribly full of boilerplate that I should be putting into the fixture. And yeah, I admit that. I try to occasionally come back and refactor. I haven't done that in a while. Refactoring, it's like I'm a lazy person, and refactoring is kind of like cleaning up, and so I'm naturally disinclined to do that. Okay. Yes, that has to be synchronized at that point. And then here. Yes. And then, yeah, good to go. And here. I am a lazy person. So, hey, Mike. By the way, I like to give Mike a shout out. There we go. So, Mike is in the stream now. He's also streams on Twitch, and he's making a game called Thrusty Ship, which I find really fun. And check out his stream later. What are you up to, Mike? Yeah, every programmer. Maybe there's something to that. It's something that well, the way programmers work or what they end up learning causes them to want to be more lazy. Okay, cool. Oh, and I keep forgetting to do that. I should make that maybe part of my plan. Maybe if I have time. If I have time, write the non-admin should not be able to subscribe to cluster status test. I have absurdly long names of tests because that's my slot where I want to describe in a nutshell, literally, what the test does. And I'm not that good with making my names concise. Long names are great for this. I'm glad you agree. There's other people at my stream that give me crap for it, but I go with it because I don't know. Actually, I don't have a good reason why. I just want it to be descriptive. I guess I'm trying to avoid writing comments because I know comments can get unsynchronized with the code. I think I've gone through every test here. Let's see what I've managed to fix and what's still broken. Actually, pretty good. Only 2 are still broken. So let's see. These broken tests. 1182. 1182. I guess I could just jump to 1182. There we go. A lie waiting to happen? Yeah. I think you're right, Gareth. Or is it Gareth? Let's see. Okay. Ah, yes. So when that needs the close on a WebSocket actually sends a message. There's like a little handshake, close handshake. So we need to actually, with the underlying mocked connection, con server, we need to tell it. Oh, thanks for the follow, Gareth. We need to tell it to run one loop, or basically we're going to block until the mocked connection underlying this WebSocket does one loop to process all of this asynchronous sends. Hey there, Zur. You need help with maths? I need help with maths all the time, too. I'm not very strong with the maths. So I sympathize. Okay, 1388. 1388. Yeah, what's the math question? I might bring in a math bot to try to solve it. Actually, no. I wrote a little Twitch bot for fun on stream, and its only purpose is to join a channel and start asking math questions. It doesn't solve them, it just asks them. Oh, one of those questions. Ugh. The kinds of questions that are my kids' math. Oh, what had happened? They're in my kids' math homework, and I like, do I really have to remember how to do that? Okay. This one is failing. Why? We only got 1 message and not 2. Probably because of this. No? Okay, send a RAF message. We only allow 1 connection. We wait for that connection to be established, yes. We get that connection, we wait for a message to be received. It should be a request write an election. Oh wait, why is this being called? Maybe this is right. This is the problem. It's why 2? Oh, it's not con server, it's first connection con server. Yeah. Got it. Figured it out. Thanks for addressing the mic, the math question, Mike. Oh, I thought for sure that would have fixed it. It's still the same issue. Okay. Oh, it's a con client because in this role the server is the client. It established a connection outgoing. Yeah. WebSockets are bidirectional. Sometimes you can get the ends confused. There we go. So now tests are back up and running with send data in the mock connection properly, asynchronous. I can check this in and wash my hands because that was painful and dirty. So here's essentially what we did. We added queue and thread. We made structures for the data we want to send, and we have a bunch of shared properties now with the condition variable. Here's the queue of message to send, and we have other variables to support stopping the worker thread. Actually, yeah, stopping the worker thread and then synchronizing with the worker thread. This was another bug, actually. I should probably check that in separate. I didn't bother to comment these. You don't censor your viewers. Oh, what's Mugget? Do I have a command for that yet? I don't have a command for that. Shoot. Let me make a command for that. I'll explain what it is, though. It's probably in my YouTube channel. So if you search there, I made a tool called Mugget because if you actually look at the file system here, it's got a bunch of directories which aren't actually checked in. So how would I show that? Git K maybe? If I look at the tree, there's actually not much checked into the main repository. That's because I wanted all of the things that are reusable, like URI, WebSockets, to be in other Git repositories. And normally a sane person would use Git submodule for that, so WebSockets would be a submodule. But I'm not a sane person. I'm very insane. Instead, I made a tool similar to Google's Android repo tool. And it looks at an XML file like this, so that whenever you want to pull down the latest or see if there are changes, it'll actually say, okay, all of these paths map to subordinate repositories, and here they are. So all my public stuff is in GitHub. And when I run Mugget status AL, it basically goes through and iterates, and it finds all the repositories you have, what branch you have selected, whether or not there are changes. And then other things like this hat means we've pinned it to a certain revision. So it's kind of hard to explain what the tool is unless you understand what I'm trying to use it for, which I'm trying to explain. Multi-repository, but I want, instead of submodule, I have an XML file like git repo. The main reason I don't use git submodule is because git submodule will store the commit hash code in the main repository. And so whenever, like, let's say I make a change to JSON, I'll also have to make a change to the root if I want it to pick up the latest from JSON. But if you're kind of separated so that JSON is just a reference in an XML file, and the only thing you say is where is it, where to put it, and what branch it's in, then if I check in a change to JSON, I don't actually have to change the root repository at all. So that might not be the best explanation, but there was a video I made explaining what Mugget is. I'll have to look that up. I'll look that up and I'll make it part of the Mugget command. Submodules is kind of painful, but so is this. I mean, it's you sort of get into painful territories when you make large systems. So if you were just like making a library for JSON, it fits nicely in one repository. But then when you try to make a larger system like a game which has multiple pieces, and you want to keep the pieces separate for some reason, like my reason is I want you guys to be able to reuse pieces. I want to be able to reuse these pieces in future projects. Then it becomes complicated. You have to have some way to manage the different pieces, where they go, where they're checked in. And a lot of people will go the other end of the spectrum from me, which is the what do you call it? Mono repo, where everything is in one Git repository. The downside with that is, let's say the only thing you cared about that I wrote was JSON. You'd have to get my monster Git repository and like filter out all the non-JSON parts to get what you wanted. So there's a trade-off. I like multi-repo because I've just been trained into separating all my libraries up into different repos and tracking them by branch and not commit. Sorry for the long-winded explanation. I'm kind of feeling like I want to disable git lens because this keeps popping up and it annoys me. Is that easy to do? I want to disable git lens. Toggle. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. Yeah, that stuff that you saw pop up is git lens, which is one of the extensions I use. Is git lens, C make tools, and C++ in VS Code. Dependency control, yeah, exactly. So the repositories in my manifest here are all the dependencies of the overall workspace. So they are version control dependencies. That's different from build dependencies. And since I use CMake, build dependencies are in the CMake files. So like WebSockets depends on base64, hash, HTTP, system abstractions, UTF-8. And then their dependencies, right? Through a tree. But so there are multiple dimensions of dependencies here, right? Build dependencies, version control dependencies. Where was I with this? It's passing. Oh, right. I was checking it in. I was working on checking it in, right? Yeah, this whole thing was for this function to change here. Instead of calling the callback or delegate immediately, we're pushing it into a queue and having a worker thread do it. So yeah, coordinator tests make mock connection send data asynchronous. Send data is required to be asynchronous. It works synchronously some of the time, but there's a race/chance of deadlock. That's coming about because, like for example, WebSocket will call send data while holding its own mutex, and if there's another WebSocket on the other end that's doing the same at the same time from a different thread, you'll have a deadlock. Let me check that in, and then I'm going to take a very brief break to refill water, and I'll be right back. So I'll be back in like a minute or two. Probably just a minute. Be right back. Maybe less than a minute. Oh, I get the halo effect with my camera. Oh well. If I stop moving, it goes away, right? That's the bad lighting in my office area. There we go. Tuning it ever so slightly to get rid of the blue sparkles. Oh, and by the way, hello to anybody who was joining while I was talking or chatting. I missed a bunch of different chats. So I missed saying hello to KHPS Official and the Epic Unknown. Alright, so that was working. What was next on the plan? How's console going? We're actually going to flip back to that and take a look. Because I think that was the next thing, right? I wanted to handle reconnecting if we lose connection because the server went down. I'll show you that problem. Let's start up this. Actually, I'm going to leave that console for unit testing. Start up a new console. And by the way, I'm using conemu for this. And it's sort of like a way to corral all your shells together. So you'll use this to run the cluster. So it's stage and serve. Cluster's up and running. Looks like server 3 was a lucky server today. It's the leader. All 3 servers now will report who's the leader, which is nice. That's one of the things I did yesterday, I think. Okay, now with this shell, we will run the console. So npm start that guy. Run those React scripts. I'm gonna get prepared to open it here, and I like to open it in Chrome because I like the developer tools in Chrome. I can't connect yet because we haven't started it yet. Come on, development server, you can do it. Slow this morning. Okay, there it goes. See, that's another thing I worked on yesterday. I also did the auto connect stuff. Interesting, look at that. I don't remember seeing that before. Maybe that was there and I just never noticed. I think what it's doing is Chrome is trying to connect without accepting a self-signed certificate. And then since I have an exception or I had told it it's okay to accept the self-signed certificate for localhost, it then tries again and does connect. So anyway, here's what the console looks like these days. Worked on yesterday to do Flexbox so that it nicely resizes, and also it does the wrapping of the lines correctly. And other things like we did, we can flip to a different instance and it auto connects. Although this is still an issue, I have to resize it to clear that. Again, I have to resize to clear that. Some little issues to work out. Nice blue border, yeah. CSS is cool, watch this. We'll play with CSS a little bit. I can just go in here and I say I don't like blue anymore. I want it to be red. Now it's red. Blue. And hey, let's go with 20 pixels. Because why not? Or maybe not. CSS is kind of nice. Set a min width on the drop down. Oh, for this? Yeah, so I haven't done any kind of CSS at all for this. So it looks really, really butt ugly. I will get to that. Maybe I'll work on that a little bit today. I really wanted to do this handling a connection if we lose it. So I'll demonstrate that. So we have our cluster nice up and running, right? And I can show that here as well. But let's say I go and kill the leader. Who's the leader? Leader was 3, which is 8960. Let's go find 8960 and kill him. Or terminate him. Or stop him. Boom. So a couple things happened there. The cluster re-elected a leader, server 2. The orchestrator decided to relaunch server 3. Server 3 connected back in now as a follower. Unfortunately, the admin console is still disconnected. We can reconnect if we hit connect, or if I pick another instance, it'll connect. But I'd kind of like it to just automatically reconnect after a short timeout. See, here we only really needed to wait 5 milliseconds. Maybe a little bit longer. We don't have to wait very long, so maybe we'll just make it a second. If we lose the connection, we'll try reconnecting after a second. Yeah, so KHPS official, you're probably much better at CSS than I am. I know next to nothing, but I'll be learning stuff on stream, I'm sure. Okay, I want to make it reconnect when we lose the connection. It's going to be a little difficult to know which one to kill or stop. I'm looking at, I think that's the right one. Yeah, so what I think I'll do is if it disconnects and we didn't press the button, I'll have it set a timer to automatically do connect again later. This is front end work. Here we go. I'm going to start stumbling around in React, and my React code is horrible. Right now I only have one component called app, and it basically has all the things in it. It's really messy. I apologize, but I'm still new at React. Okay, so where... I think it's the on disconnect, right? Which is where? Here we go. I think it's this call. Problem is it's called from more than one place, right? It's also called when you actually press the disconnect button. I think I know what I want to do. So I want to have like a Boolean state object that says whether or not we want to stay connected. So we'll call that want connection, and we'll just initialize it to true. And then what we can do is on disconnect, we can do two things here. Let me break this out. Let me break it out, yeah. And then break that out. So we'll say I was going to say do set this dot set state want connection false. Problem with that is what I learned yesterday from my wonderful viewers is that this is asynchronous and it won't apply the state before we call that. So there was a way to call a function when we're done. I need to find out where that was. It was here, right? So if we add a function after this, you're right, exactly. Excuse me, I got a cough, so I got to mute my mic. Hope you guys enjoy with a little overlay when I have to mute the mic. It's my wacky sense of humor. Okay, so yes, so I think the way to do this, if I understand correctly, is we still say we want the state to be, but then we provide something to call after, so we can do this. So this basically, I think, if I understand this right, it says to React, we want this to be set in our state. Call this once it's done, which will force it. So basically, we'll set that we don't want the connection anymore, and then when that's set, then disconnect. I might be losing the battle today with my camera's blue screen. If I make it too aggressive, this is what happens. I'm melting, help! Not aggressive enough, it's that. The problem is the light is so inconsistent when it's cloudy. I'm gonna have somewhat transparent glasses and beard. But it's better than the red sparkles. Actually, what if I turn on the smoothing? You still see it. Not good. Oh well, I'll be semi-transparent glasses guy for a while. Need to figure out the lighting at my computer to kind of fix that. All right, so on disconnect. So here, if it's called the want connection, if it's still set to true, okay, this also needs to be slightly different, right? Actually, I can just remove this then. Auto connect. Well, it'll just be else. If we have a socket, we'll disconnect, and that'll cause it to reconnect with the new information. Right. Okay. I think I want the on connect to also set the flag, right? On connect. Maybe I'll do the same kind of thing here. Like that. It's more balanced there, too. Go to buy a green screen, but you change your mind because OBS has custom color options. The only color you want is orange. Huh. So are there orange screens out there? I might consider getting another color. I got this screen I have because it's a nice size, but I think I'd rather have it be green because when I wear a purple shirt, it sort of melts away. But I'm finding that really what's more important is to have good lighting, and I don't have good lighting. Okay, so that's really expanded out. I guess it's okay. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier to read. So it's on disconnect. We need to check here. If it's the one that we did want, if it's the one we had connected, close it. And then we're going to have a on, okay, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to look it up. I have no idea what the name of the function is. So I'm going to look it up. It is React call function after time. Set timeout. Set timeout. Set timeout. It's not a React thing, I realize, but I put React in the search in case React does have a React way of doing it. I want to see that first. If I don't put the word React in the search, I might end up getting some way to do it either in plain JavaScript or in Vue or in Angular that I might start using that and not realize, oh, React has its own way of doing it. Yeah, so occasionally someone will ask me what makes a good job candidate and like what I might ask as an interviewer. One thing that I would ask these days of someone who's interviewing, if I was the interviewer, I would ask, what's the first thing that you do when you don't know how to do something in programming? And if their answer is on the lines of look it up with Google search or Stack Overflow, then they answered it correctly. I think. They might say, well, I have this buddy who knows programming. And be like, okay, but what if your buddy wasn't around? So it wants the timer handler, so that'll be... Is this what I want? This dot connect on connect. And then a timeout in what, milliseconds? I'm gonna guess milliseconds. Let's see if that works. It's connected, so we need to kill that server. I don't know which one it is now. Or it's connected to 1. Which one's 1? 24,140. Okay, you're my target. 21. 24,140, you're going down. Going down. Oh, look at that. That seemed longer than a second, though. And now one is 19,992. So we're going to stop that one. 1002 and 1003. Okay, it's 3 seconds. I wonder if it's because it takes 3 seconds to reconnect. Measuring resourcefulness? Yeah. I agree, Mike. In fact, like, I used to interview people, and sometimes the interviewees would be, like, really nervous, and they would say at the end, I'm sorry, I don't know more about this. And my answer was like, dude, I actually maybe should have warned you about this, but I'm not asking questions that I know you'll be able to answer, because that would be pointless. I'm asking questions that I know that are going to challenge you, that you might not, they hopefully don't even know the answer to, so I could see how you address the problem. And just if someone's trying to answer it and they say, I wish I had a computer so I could look this up on Stack Overflow, in my mind I'm writing, he passes. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Sometimes I'll even stop and I'll say, yeah, let's move on to something else because that was the right answer. Really, Mike? I think that you're answering more succinctly than I am. Anyway, I think our autoconnect is done. Oh, I need to test if we really wanted to stay disconnected, and now I kill server. Oh, see, it's not working. It's reconnecting. Oh, because I didn't use that stupid flag that I made. I stupidly didn't use the stupid flag. It's if this dot state dot want connection, then we set the timeout, right? Okay, we want the connection now, but what if I disconnect? I should probably show the developer state at the same time, right? That would be a smart thing to do. There we go. Want connection false. Connect. Want connection still false. Okay, that's not good. Oh, I probably never set it to true. Did I copy paste? Oh, copy paste error. That should have been a true. My bad. Isn't that cool how, like, you just save the code and automatically it reloads? Nice, it's true. But if I disconnect, it's now false. So if I change the instance, okay, that didn't do the right thing. It reconnected. Let me think about this. What are we looking at on the pasteboard? Most productive exception handling ever? Oh. I like that. How do I zoom in on that? It's a little blurry, but yeah. You catch an exception, you just search for it. Okay, that's good. That's good. I need to archive that. I like that. That made me laugh. Very nice. Thank you for that. Yeah. Well, you know, it's always good for someone who's a young dev just to talk to some older devs and ask them things, how things really are, because there are a lot of misconceptions about what you need to know, what you need to do, and some of it even comes from academia itself. You'll learn programming in an academic setting. It's completely different in the real world a lot of the time. The requirements are different. The mode of operation is different. In academia, they expect you to know the answer. You cram it in your head, right? And you just like regurgitate it out. In the real world, a lot of the time, I forget things that I thought I learned a few weeks ago. It's okay because I just look back at my notes. I look back at Google search, and you recover. You reestablish the associations in your brain, and you move on. It's not important. It's not so important to have everything crammed in your head and memorize everything, right? Okay, so the problem now is I disconnect, I switch to another instance, and then a second later it connects. So it's on instance selected. Auto connect. Oh, okay, yeah, we don't want it to just do that, right? Only if this dot state dot want connection. There we go. So disconnect. Change instance. Good. Connect now. Now change instance again. Comes back up. All right, and then I'm going to kill the instance again. 24996. Reconnects. Nice. Cool. Let's check that in. I like it. Front end work is fun. So we introduced a state variable want connection. If we want a connection, we connect after a slight pause. If this is inside of on disconnect, by the way, that's the automatic reconnection. And we expanded this code. Really, what we added was flipping this want connection, and then once that's applied, then doing the thing that we asked the button to do. And then in the auto connect code, which happens whenever you change your selections, it will only connect if you weren't already connected and you wanted there to be a connection. Actually, do I even need this? I don't even know if I need this. I think it might actually reconnect anyway. Actually, no, I think that we need this for the initial connection. The academic setting is purely theoretical, which has advantages, but does not lead to practicality. It's very costly to undertake as a path. Yeah. Well, I guess it's up to us that are actually in the industry to help out the people just coming in. The first week should be calm down. It's not like they told you in school. It's a bit different. Yeah, I kind of feel for the people who have a completely different expectation when they come out of school and then they hit the real world and they're like, wait, this is not what they taught. I wouldn't say it breaks my heart. It's a temporary thing, right, Mike? They learn. That's one thing that's good about new engineers, new programmers. They're very malleable. You quickly get them, quickly being the first 4 weeks or so, um, really educated or adjusted slightly so that they know what to expect. And then I've found that they're quickly change their habits. What really is difficult is someone who has been in the wrong job for a long time, like 10 years. They're just taught the wrong things, they do the wrong process, and then they get put into another team and they just can't adjust because it's so like imprinted on them for 10 years to do it a certain way. That's what breaks my heart a lot of the time. What's the 60K in the bank? Yeah. I think one of the only things I know to combat that is to really promote internships. While they're still in school, get them to go out and find internships, especially if they're paid, because then the internship pay counters the college cost, and also they kind of get themselves like aligned correctly for getting into the real world. They might actually find that. Yeah, I know my face cam is broken. I can readjust it back. I'm having trouble with the lighting. Watch that. So I dial it back, you start to see the blue halo. It's like the lighting is not consistent today. Yeah, so I think internships for college students learning programming is a maybe one potential mediating factor. sometimes glowing. I tried this morning to like put a light up there and another one down there, and I just don't have the right setup. I want to get the lighting on the blue screen behind me to be uniform. If I can get a uniform color, then I can really dial down the filter, and then I won't have the issues. But I'm not a lighting specialist. If you know a lighting specialist, and they might have some ideas, then I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll keep tinkering until I figure it out. All right, so this is the admin console. Automatically reconnect if connection lost. We're solid with that. That's a front-end development success story. Actually, maybe what I'll do next is to fix the issue here. If I flip to another server, the line, okay, that one looks okay. Flip back. No, how do I demonstrate the error here? Now it's not happening. It's where the row heights aren't being recalculated. There we go. Solve this issue. It's supposed to recalculate or basically flush the cache of row heights because I cleared the log completely. You did a photography course? Maybe. So what's actually, I guess the most basic question I would have, which I should probably look this up later on Google, is what's a quick and easy solution for even lighting? I was thinking earlier, maybe I need a floodlight like they have when when kids get their pictures taken at school. There's like the screen, and then there's like a floodlight. Maybe I can get a cheap and easy solution for that can flood the light in. See, look, there's like a blue halo. That bugs. It like got a little bit cloudier all of a sudden, and there's the halo again. A box of aluminum foil to spread the light? That could work. Yeah, I guess, yeah, to amplify what you were saying, Mike, like, I guess it would really break my heart if someone went and got not only a bachelor's degree, but a master's degree and a PhD and spent all that time and money, and then they ended up just in a job programming where they could have just stopped at a bachelor's degree. That kind of thing does break my heart because it's just it was like a waste. Unless unless they really got something out of it personally. Okay, to fix that cache, maybe just a hack in a fix. I did this on resize. This is a real hack. That's on the slate to be fixed once I figure out how to do it the right way. But I have this on Windows size change. Yeah, so this is the hack. Maybe I should promote it to official hackdom by calling it hack the log row height cache to fix wrapping issues. So now it's going to be so annoying, this functionality will be so annoying that I'll be really urged to find the solution. Sound good, right? You got to set up motivational factors for yourself. So I want to do this whenever we reconnect, right? Actually, here's exactly where I want to do it. Bloop. Oh, why is it not? I never did a copy. That's why. This dot hack the log row height cache to fix wrapping issue. Oh, we want to do that after this actually happens, right? Actually, maybe I want to do all of this stuff in here. It really doesn't make sense to do anything until the state is changed. Yeah. Oh, I was almost hit F7 to rebuild, and I don't need to do that because it's JavaScript and React. Okay, now when I change, I shouldn't see that problem anymore. Nice. It's even going down to the last line like it was supposed to. What happens if I go to the top and I flip over? Oh, it's always going to the... I guess that's okay. It always scrolls to the bottom. Oh, I think that might be because I set it up that way. I wanted it to, like, whenever a new message comes in, to see it there. Which I can test how? By killing the server? By killing a different server. Let's kill a different server. Not 2 this time. Who's who? 2 is who? Who's 2? 25,536. Don't kill him. Kill someone else. Here we go. We'll kill this guy. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're connected to 1. So it's... We don't want to kill... Let's kill 2, which is 25,536. We're connected to 1, though. Cool. That's what I wanted to see. That it scrolls automatically. Hold on a sec. That was my overlay when I had to mute. Hey there, Zorak HS. It depends on the place, right? I have no idea what it's like in Sweden, so I can only speak for the US. But I stopped at bachelor's degree, mostly because I got an internship while I was still in college. The internship led to a job. The job lasted 24 years. I didn't need anything else but the bachelor's degree, and I found out in the first 4 weeks that the only thing that I needed the bachelor's degree for was to have something on the resume to get considered. So it really didn't. I mean, the what do you call it? There's a word for it. The classes you take in college that aren't strictly related to your major, but kind of round out your education for life were useful, like humanities classes, history. I thought those were very important to take, and not for the job, of just for life. So if anything, the bachelor's degree, I could stop there because I already got what I needed to fill in life knowledge from college. Job knowledge that was mostly self-taught. And even if you have classes in programming, I think you'll end up finding that you learn a lot on your own because what they teach you in school is just to get you started. Okay, so this is looking nice. Let me check in that hack, as ugly as it is, and then I'll move on. I'm going to adjust my chair a little bit. Line me back up properly. Okay. Admin console. Hack log row cache. Hack reset log cache when connecting. Clear the log row cache when connecting in order to make sure row heights are recalculated, since the same keys will be reused with new messages in the new connection. %, you learn in college doesn't apply in real life, really? Oh, you must have went to a college that sucked. I'm sorry. I learned a lot in college about different things. I guess it depends on what you took. Like, I tried to do a minor in economics. I actually wish I had tried to do a minor in what is it? Not sociology. Psychology, because I think I would have learned a lot about the human behavior. But I went to a college where they had a lot of general ed. That's the name of it. General ed requirements. I had to take a second language. I had to take humanities, and so needed to take classes where you had to write. Had nothing to do with programming, and if I wasn't in college, I would never have done that. I think I would have suffered for it. Here's an interesting piece of knowledge. Most lucrative position to EA Barnon was the design FIFA Ultimate Team. Smashing guy. You know his background? Yeah. Yeah, what you get paid in the end might not have anything to do with how much school you take. Every situation's different though. I should probably hide this window. It's all white. Yeah, so what's Zorak, what you said, I agree. It gets you started, but you'll end up learning a lot of stuff on your own. Let me clean that up a little bit. All right, let me go back to my plan. Oh, did I close it? Closed it. Why did I close it? Why did I do that? Here we go. Fix the deadlocks. Handle the reconnect. I guess we're on to tuning log levels. And then add a control to set the log level. And if I have time, work on reconfiguration. That's a big one. And then this test in the back end. Okay, so log level. So I want to see timeouts. So I'm not seeing that right now, probably. Right, so I'm just seeing these, which I guess we can still see them, but I'm not seeing that it, when the leader changes. Like we're in turn 3. Like when I connect to a non-leader and I kill the leader, right? I want to see an election. So I want to kill the leader. Leader's 1. Which server is 1? 14,580. 14. So when I kill him, I see that from 2's perspective, it couldn't connect, but then it connected. But there's no mention about the election, so I need to adjust that log level. I guess I should find out where that log message is sent from. There's one in Raft itself. We become the leader, right? This thingy. I thought I did diagnostic messages here. Oh, it's probably named something else. This one. Where is that pushed? Okay, it's called from here. I'm following the cookie trail. There we go. All right, so it's set to level 2. I think the problem is the default level is 3. Default level is 3. What if I put it down to 2? Does it get really chatty? Let's see. Here's the cool thing. I can leave the console up and just kill the cluster and restart it. I have to kill the cluster, then restage it and run it. But this should come back up. Ah, look at that, it worked. And now what happens when I kill the... Okay, this is the leader. Let's go to a non-leader. And... what do you think about what Strop wrote? Don't learn your kids programming, but learn them art and mathematics. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the context. I think that's a nice sentiment because it kind of rounds out their education. I wish I had studied more art, and you know what? My mathematics story is that, for example, linear algebra, learned it in college, forgot it. Then I got into doing computer graphics and thought, crap, if I had not forgotten linear algebra, this would be so much easier. I had to go teach myself linear algebra again. So, and about art, I would love to have learned more art because then I could do more pixel art by myself. So, yeah, I think I would agree in general. Teach art and mathematics. You don't like linear algebra, Zarek? It comes in real handy when you do 3D graphics. Just telling you. I like 3D graphics because even the bugs are amusing. No, that's okay. You don't. The whole purpose of the computer is to have it do the computation for you. If you just know the theory, see, when people say they don't like math, is it that you don't like finding the answer, or you don't like understanding how it works? If it's the understanding part, I think that's important. If it's just computing the answer, solving the equation, that I can agree that it's something not to like, because it's something that the computer should be doing for you. That's what we have computers for. I want to kill server 2. Server 2 is 22,976. I wonder if I should build the process IDs into this so I can see them. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, now we're seeing it, and it's not. We're not seeing too many other things, so maybe we're fine with that. If we weren't connected to the leader, though, what do we see? So kill server 1. 3392. Yeah, we're not a follower. We're not printing anything as a follower. Yeah, I get that it's hard to learn it, to learn math. Yeah, when are the math guys gonna come down out of lurkerdom and speak up about the wonders of math? Um. Oh, did I not pin server? Not. Yeah, I didn't. What happens when we receive a heartbeat? Oh, there's nothing from Raft that says so? Shouldn't there be? Let's. You know, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move the message we had here. Oh no, we'll leave that one because that's saying what it's about to do. But inside here is Q leadership. We'll actually print something that says who the leader is. We'll say term something has begun. The new leader is something such and such. Here we go. Maybe I'll set that to 3. No, 2 is fine. It's going to be formatted. Oh, hey there, said who. When someone says the word math, what I think in my head is what my kids are learning now, which is basic principles on how to think about mathematical problems. So there's maybe a bit of bias. I can see how it's a vague term. I just have a concrete visualization of it being my kids studying it and hating every moment of it. New term started with new term. But we'll say server blank is now the leader in term blank. How about we just do that? All right, so kill the cluster stage and serve. Console is back up. Actually, that started really quick. Did I just not see that? Kill the cluster, stage and serve. I guess it does come up pretty quick. Server 1 is now the leader. Nice. Wait a minute. How did... Oh, we're looking at the leader. Oh, and it's 0 based, yeah. I gotta maybe I should fix that. Maybe when I print them, they should be one base, so I don't get really confused. Yeah, let's do that. Let's add 1 in all the places where we have a server number. Sorry, I'm not following the conversation as closely. I think we're good, right? Oh, there's places where it says we already voted for someone else. Yeah, already voted for this guy. Voted for. Home keys. Voted for. Yeah. What came first, the universe or the math? Both. I don't know. I wasn't there. Is shared a global or constructed on constructor? That's a good question. And by the way, how's it going, Seth? Let me fix. Well, no, we'll leave the blue glowy thing above my head for now. The shared is a shared pointer to properties that are shared between the server object and entities that may live longer than the server. The idea is to prevent problems where if the server is destroyed while other threads callbacks are still in process, that it won't cause problems because callbacks and other threads that might be sharing the properties of the server still have access to those because they'll hold a strong reference to those shared properties. So it's a way to sort of separate out the properties of a class between the ones that really will die when the class is destroyed and the ones that you might possibly want to live longer if other things are sharing those properties. So it's just a way to, yeah, I just explained it. I don't know why I keep wanting to re-explain it. Shared pointer is a nifty thing where if nothing else is using those properties, it will be destroyed when the class gets destroyed because it'll be the last reference. It's a reference counted pointer. But if I do hand out the pointer to something else, like a worker thread, then it's whichever one lives the longest will be the last to release it. And so it still gets cleaned up. It just gets cleaned up at the latest point. So hopefully that makes sense. You would call it in constructor as to be sure not to call impl again. You mean how I have it initialized here? I think it's okay because if I remember right, I disabled copying and moving. Oh, maybe not. The outer one can't. Oh, it can. It can be moved but not copied. I think I just didn't bother because this impl is only created once when the class itself is created. It's I never actually. I don't allow copying the server. It can only be moved. I think that's enforced here somewhere. Where did I do? Yeah. So I delete the copy constructor and copy assignment. So the object can only be created one time and then moved and then eventually destroyed. So I think we're good with doing stuff here. This also lets me avoid having a constructor for any impl. I didn't have to do that. I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not, but yeah. Impl is private. That's the pimple pattern that you're seeing there. It's private here. Well, in this case, it's a unique pointer. I think the other place, I think I'm looking at two different classes, right? Oh, right. The impl, that's unique. It's not copied, but the impl itself has the shared properties, which then are shared with the worker thread. It's a bit confusing. I really need to make that's a good idea, actually. Make a video going over the basics of that so that people can watch that. And let's say in the same grain, well, not in the same grain, consider making another video going over the pimple pattern. And well, it kind of ties into this. Raleigh Monkey was asking before if the basic way I go around multi-threading. So the reason I have shared properties is mostly because of it being multi-threaded. Shared properties may overlap some with multi-threading video. I'll make a few videos that go over that, so that when people come in and they ask me about the shared stuff or the impl, I can kind of have them watch a minute or two video that kind of explains why I do it that way. You can't wait for the game to be playable, but there's no game yet. It could be a game you hate. You just want to break it, don't you? I know you. I know said who. He wants to just crash my servers. No. I'm just kidding. Shared is a must in C++. It's kind of controversial. I know some people have watched streamers and both that really don't like shared pointer. They write C++ and it's still raw pointers, which would look like this. I cringe whenever I see that in C++ because you know what that immediately makes me think of? Memory leak. Accessing the pointer after it's been destroyed. All sorts of badness. This has its own pitfalls though. So you have to be careful. It's not thread safe and other issues. So it was yeah, I think we're ready to try this out again. Build that bad boy. Kill cluster, stage and serve it again. This should come up. Okay, now the 1 matches this 1. And if we go to 1, it should say not only is it now the leader, it also says it assumed leadership. Oh, another thing I wanted to add was timestamps of when the client... No, not when the client received it. I want to timestamp in the message as the server recorded it. You use raw pointer for pimple? I mean, you can. I use unique pointer just to stay in the habit, but I could make this a raw pointer. It's just then I would have to delete it in my destructor, right? And I'd have to be careful when I move it. So when you move a server, after it's been moved, the old object you moved it from, you'll need to set it to null. Otherwise, you'll accidentally destroy the impl maybe twice, right? There's just extra housekeeping that unique pointer does for me. If people don't know unique pointer, it's like shared pointer, only you can only have one reference. So it's either points to something or it doesn't, and you can't make another reference. You can move it around, and you can release it, but you can't add another reference. Otherwise, it behaves pretty much the same as shared pointer, which is a reference counted pointer. Okay, what else do I want to see in the console here? These, I think I need to reduce the level. I don't need to see that all the time anymore. I think I raised that up just to see it more often. This is an inside joke. I still want to see when admins are identified. And when I disconnect and connect again, it will say that they went away, right? Yeah, admin disconnected feels bad, man. This stuff I don't really need to see. So maybe we do want to raise the level up to 3, which means I want to raise that to 3, and then drop the received texts down. Okay, so we'll do that first. Coordinator received text. That really should be a really low level one. We'll drop it, demote it all the way to 0. Three, yes. What was the other one I wanted to see? Oh, thanks for the follow, Denimal. Initialize with new, but don't delete. Yeah, with unique and shared pointers, there is a deleter. And the default deleter calls delete for you. You can actually overload that. Oh, I had a really cool example of that. Let me find it. Actually, well, that's okay. We already found it. That's not the right. That's not the one I was looking for. I thought I had this in my code. Maybe it was in my other project. I want to find it though. It's really neat. I want to make a short video for this too, actually. I just need to search for it. Actually, it would help if I didn't search for those, right? I can't tell if it's searching or not. Search. My hard drive is spinning. I think it's searching. Yeah, it's not thread safe. That's true. The reference counting is safe, but it's using the pointer itself is not thread safe, right? Really, it's not finding it? I know I did this somewhere. I'll search around where I remember doing this. It was really cool. I want to show you guys. I have to think it would be in here somewhere. It would be like F. Actually, I can just search for F open. There we go. Here it is. So this is a really cool thing you can do with, and it's also illustrating how you can mix C and C++. So you have the venerable F open and F close, right? F open gives you back a raw pointer to file. But if you're in C++, you're like, we're in C++, we're cool guys. We're not going to handle, we don't handle raw pointers. You can take the pointer you get and give it to a unique pointer as long as you give it a custom deleter. So my custom deleter is a function that takes the raw file pointer, and what it does is it calls fclose on it, right? So this is a really nice wrapper, C++ wrapper, that will auto-close the file when that pointer leaves the scope, right, when it gets destroyed. And it's an example of how you can have a custom deleter. If I didn't have that, the default deleter would have done delete on the file pointer, which you don't want to do. You're supposed to call fclose, not delete it. So there you go. Yeah, so this is like the RAII version of a wrapper for the C file API. I want to make a video showing that off. The only gross thing I think is that you need to declare the type of the deleter here, and that's a shortcoming of unique pointer. But quickly get over it. Anyway. Right, we're raising the default level to 3. And then I'll get rid of that. Right, I want to raise the level. Raft has to, the raft ones I changed need to be raised then. So that needs to be raised to 3. What else? Yeah, let's raise this one to 3 also. Actually, no. We'll bump that a little bit up to 2. Heartbeat 0, yeah. Reject vote. I kind of want to see that at the same... No. Maybe not. I might want to see starting new election and not care about the vote rejections, unless I were down to level 1. This one I want to see at 3, though. Sorry, I had to mute because I was coughing. It sucks to have a cold that kind of persists. Okay, yeah, I think this is good. The problem I have with C++ and RAII is that it's not ingrained in the language like it is in C#, for example. And I kind of wonder why Strauss didn't put in things like shared pointer into the language originally. Maybe because, I don't know. I have no idea. But it would have made it a lot more complete, I think, to have all the facilities there in modern C++ back when he designed it. It's one of those warts on the language that it took many years and iterations of the language before it got to where the facilities we have today. You didn't think about it back then? Could be. Right, so we're going to build that, and we're going to reset the stage, and then serve. Then this should come up. Cool. Now, go to that leader. Cool. Now it's nice and clean, I think. I like it so far. So let me play around with killing or stopping the server. I don't want to say kill. 2 is 1688. So right, when it dies, we see that someone else has become the leader. I guess I don't really need to see that. Maybe we should drop down WebGate connection established down to 2. Yeah. So WebGate connection established drops down to 2. WebGate, where are you, WebGate? Here you are. Connection established. 2. These numbers were our magic numbers because they're intended from day one to be adjustable and changeable and not set in stone. Okay. So okay, it's again 2. 1 3 1 2 4. Oh, the one we were talking to became leader. And no longer says we still want to see these errors. This just means that it took it a few tries before it connected back to that's the server we killed, number 2. That's okay. We can still see those errors. I guess another thing I want to do is do a plain. How do I do this? Plain access to that server. Which server was it? 1. So that would be s localhost 81. Oh, I need to look it up. 8184. Should see it feels bad, man. Oh, that's the private port. Public port. Yeah, it's not valid. Proceed. Feels bad, man. Okay. And then if I do HTTP, localhost 8184, just see the feels bad, man, right away. Yeah, so I didn't want to see any crap here, so we're good. How many threads did the 386 have? You mean when it first came out, it was just 1, right? It wasn't for a while before they added either hyper-threading or multi-cores. What's your build? Build process is super fast? Oh. I use, on the top down, CMake, and then Ninja, and then Visual Studio. So let me change something. So I hit F7. Ninja already knows only 4 files needed to be rebuilt. So 1 object file, 1 library, and 2 executables. So Ninja's really good build system in that regards. It's minimally rebuilding. I don't have to rebuild all. I haven't yet run into a situation where I had to force a rebuild all, so I'm really happy with it. So, and Ninja seems to be the default build system that's generated when you use CMake in Visual Studio Code. So, yep, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, if I change something that was used a lot, something even lower down, like one of these, let's change the header file for network connection. This is going to cause a lot of stuff to be rebuilt. 32 things. And one of them, it couldn't be rebuilt because it's the orchestrator, which always is built in the staging area. So you can see it took more time, like 12 seconds. Oh, another reason why it might be fast is it's using all the cores of my system, and I have a 16 core or 16 thread system. Let me do a rebuild all and see how long. I'm curious how long it takes. Clean rebuild. Here we go. So it's 788 files. You can see kind of how quickly it goes because it's running on 16 cores. This is one of the reasons I really pimp out the rig that I have with the 16 cores and a lot of RAM, because I want the build process to go really fast. You want those short iteration cycles. Why would Strush up and read the shared pointer? Because it's useful. And he could have if he thought about it, I guess. We would honestly write pure C if it wasn't for really basic things. Yeah, well, maybe D has that. I've been meaning to look into that, just like I was meaning to look into Rust. The D language is supposed to be like C and C++ written the right way. So, yeah, maybe that's what you really are looking for. Threadripper. So yeah, my build takes 26.362 seconds. It does 788 steps. It'll get longer and longer, I'm sure, as the game progresses. Yeah. I'm happy with the system. Short iteration cycles are nice to have. Cool. What's next? I should probably just check this in and then see what's next. When I am not sure what I might have touched, I always just do mugget status. It runs through all my repositories. It looks like, yeah, I changed the levels in Raft, which is checked in separately. Oh, that's right, I added that message too. Let's call this all server diagnostic message tuning. Add message for every leadership announcement. Print server IDs as one-based numbers, one-based values, as in it starts from 1, so we add 1. It's really just for convenience. In the end, I'm going to have to use truly unique numbers because we'll have to be able to take some servers out of the cluster, creating holes in the sequence. Like if I want to take the first server down and keep it down, you might have the configuration be 2, 3, 4 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. So, but for now, it's always assume that we have 1 through n, and I'm just going to add 1. I mean 0 through n minus 1, or add 1 to make it 1 to n. Okay, so adjust some message levels. For what reason? To be more consistent with other libraries. Good enough reason as any. Zig or Odin? I've never heard of those. Let me bookmark that. Come on, OneNote. You're killing me. Whenever I see someone mention a library or a language or whatnot that I don't know, did it not copy? Try again. How come that's not copying? Yada says it's copying it. Is my OneNote screwed up? It's in the clipboard. Why can I not paste it here? Okay, this is odd. I can't paste text only. OneNote, you're killing me. Let's see if it works now. Screw it. It's not working at all? What is going on? Copy. Paste. Paste is not working. Close OneNote. Reboot. Unfollow, unsubscribe. Whatever it takes. Now is it working? Now it's working. I had to close OneNote and start it again. Stupid OneNote. Anyway, what I was saying, I like to look stuff up after the stream, especially if it's something I've never heard of before. Q-own notes? I'll certainly consider it. Because OneNote kind of on my nerves today. Alright, anyway. That's checked in. No, we checked in one repository. There's the root repository. It has some more log level adjustments, right? So miscellaneous log level tunings. That's all I'm gonna say. Next on the plan, Dan. Add ability to control log levels from the admin console. Okay, so that's both front end and back end work. Which should I do first? Front end? Notion is still a pretty good note-taking app, really. Yeah, front end I think I picked. I don't know if I said it. I'm gonna do the front end first. I guess for now I'll just throw it in here. Oh, you know what, this forget should have been up here. Let me fix that little quirk. I've put that button in the wrong place. This button doesn't go in the realm selection, it goes in the configuration. Render config, where's the configuration thing? Config. Config is, here it is. So the drop zone, after the drop zone, I guess? Is that where I want it? Putting it on the next line, I guess that's okay. It's all within the app config div, so if I wanted, I could style that differently. Okay, we'll just go with that. Let me rename this. It's not just connect, it's render connection buttons. So between the connection buttons and the cluster status, I think, render log controls. Turn. Actually, can I just say div here? Oh, look at that. Monka S for now. Cool. All right, so log threshold. What did they call the component that the spinner? One built in. Something tells me that there's a built-in control in HTML and then in React also to do the spinner. React spinner. Maybe not. So maybe I need to do React spinners. Based on halogen. Okay, what does it look like? I want to see an example. No examples? Not impressed with no examples in the README. Spin kit. That's not the kind of spinner I'm looking for. Is it just built into HTML? Or you're saying you don't know what I mean by spinner? I mean like the up-down selection thing. I thought that was called a spinner. Maybe it's called a spinner in WPF. Just for reference. One of these guys. I want one of those. What is it called? How about we say React up-down component? Spin box? Okay. Is it just built into HTML? Okay. Is it really just an input? Okay, so let me try that. Input where type equals number, min equals 0, 0, max equals 10. What does that do? Yeah, okay, so I can just terminate it early. What does that do? Okay, yeah, that's what I want. That's exactly what I wanted. I need to give it a value though. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the instance selection. It's value and then on change, right, that we want? So value equals this dot state dot log threshold. We'll need to get that from the server actually. From the back end. And then on change equals. Okay. This, I need to wrap this. This is too long. There's no reason for me to keep that on the same line, is there? It's going to be arbitrarily wrap it right there, because why not? This dot on log threshold changed. Oh, let's give it some state. We don't know what it is yet, so it's null. Why not? Where are my callbacks? Here we go. On log threshold changed. This actually carries something, right? It's like an event, and it has event target value. So it's something like this. Log threshold. The typing into, will it let me type in a letter? No, it won't. It will let me type in a negative number though. And it's, yeah, because I'm horribly confused. Because I hit save. Actually, we're not gonna, it's not that it's from the server, so it needs to come from the server, right? So we won't do a set state, we'll send a message. Sorry, coughing. We need, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to send it as a request to the server to please change the log threshold for us. What was it? It's like this.socket.send. Yeah, exactly. And JSON stringify something. So let's break this down. Break it down. Ew. There we go. That's better. Type. Set log level. Set log threshold. Log threshold. Log threshold. There we go. So then we'll expect to receive it back, right? So we'll make it something that the backend sends whenever we identify ourselves as an admin. So that'll be like one of these. Whoops. Log threshold. Log threshold is equal to... I don't need the previous state, actually. Message.log threshold. There we go. So now... Oh, there was a way to make it not locally change, right? I need to look that up. That was a trick in React I remember reading about. It was in one of the React tutorials, right? I'll just go through the index here and hopefully I'll see it. It's like, maybe it's not this one. I just want the React docs. Here we go. Main concepts. Oh, advanced guides. Controlled component, I think is what I'm looking for. Oh, hi there, Kinkomatics. I'm doing well. Well, so I'm doing okay. I got a cold that I hate having. Haven't used React.js. Seems pretty cool. Can you show me the glue code needed for the client to get the stub of the server context? Yeah, just a second. I was looking for controlled components. I wanted to find that first. Actually, what if I just start with uncontrolled components? Here we go. As a link to controlled components. Isn't that what I had? Yeah, that's what I had. Handle change. Yeah, but I'm not setting it. So how is it getting changed? Oh, it's not changing it back. So to control it, I need to change it back for now. So would that be just this dot set state log threshold is, well, previous state, right? Log threshold? Like that? I basically don't want it to change until the server says it changed. It didn't compile. Why not? 205. I'm doing the syntax wrong, obviously. Oh, it needed the... Yeah, I remember Hideo or someone telling me this yesterday. It needs to be in parentheses, otherwise it looks like a function call. No, it's still allowing it to be changed. Okay, I'll give up for now. Let me answer your question. Seth is... So the glue needed for the client to get the stub of the server. So it doesn't actually use a shape of the server, so to speak. So there's no stub like you might have in SOAP. It's just using WebSockets. So on the onConnect, we just use the built-in WebSocket class in JavaScript, and the server end also is listening for connections and allowing. Well, it's a web server, but the web server is allowing connections to be upgraded to WebSockets, and then those are handed to the coordinator in the server. So this is all we really need to do in the client, and we set these listeners up so that later we can send. That was this socket send to send a message, and then the receive is on this dot socket equal add event listener message, right? Is where you to receive a text message. On the server side, I implemented this in C++, and it's got sort of the same syntax. It's always making a client connection, so it's actively making one from the JavaScript side. Oh, thanks for following, Zorax. On the server, it's listening, and if a connection gets upgraded, it creates a WebSocket around it and gives it back. So there's not much stub other than using WebSockets and having one side connect to the other. So I hope that makes sense. So whenever we send this message, this .socket.send, ultimately on the backend side, it comes back in this set delegates. There's a C++ function that gets called when the message arrives out the other end of the WebSocket. Yeah, I really like the WebSocket protocol, because if we look at it in the debugger in Chrome, if we go to network, and I have to reset it. Okay, that's fine. If we look at the WebSocket, we actually see a nice breakdown. How do I make this bigger? See a nice breakdown of the individual messages. And it even goes so far as to understand the JSON. So here we see like we sent that we were the admin. Not secure, but I'll replace this before I actually deploy it to the real cloud. We identify ourselves as the leader, or as an admin, and then we subscribe to cluster state and log. And so that we get the cluster state as leader messages. This batch of diagnostic messages is the initial log, and then any new log messages come through as this diag. And I just like the way that Chrome I lost it. Oh, because I need to reset. How do I reset that? There we go. Now I'm lost. And I just said how much I liked it too. When in doubt, reload. Frames, here we go. I just like the way it parses the JSON. If you use JSON encoding in your messages, and if you don't, I think it just shows it as a plain string. It's just really nice. It's maybe not the most efficient way to send data between client and server, because there are strings, they have to be parsed. It might be more efficient to have a serialized binary message, but I intend to wait until I see performance issues before I go that far. When I start to serialize binary messages, then it becomes harder to see it in the debug tools. I would have to make my own tool that decodes messages that I see on the wire, which I might have to do. I've done that before. It's sort of a pain. I wonder what that's caused by. I just noticed that. Anyway. Stubs. So the word stub to me usually means a representation of the peer. So like if you're using the SOAP protocol, a stub would be there's a certain envelope values in the message envelope that have to match what the server expects, and that's sort of like the stub. The stub takes care of doing that. Yeah, any kind of IPC inter-process communication will do this, where for the receiver to understand what you wanted, the sender has to fill in a sort of template or shape and that is the stub usually does that. And on the other end, they usually call it either a skeleton or a proxy. Would be the flip side of that, where if you are receiving an IPC call, you need to have some interface that takes a message and parses it and recreates the function call locally, and that's usually either called a proxy or a skeleton. Sometimes I get those backwards, stub skeleton or stub proxy, but that's what I usually think of when people say stub, is that it's a local representation of the remote end, either its shape or its parameter types or whatnot. And with WebSocket, you don't have that. It's very loose. The only thing that's specified besides the WebSocket transport protocol is that I specify my messages are JSON, and then each side expects certain keys like type. So I use type in my switch statement, right? So I use type here in the switch statement. That means I expect the message to not only be JSON, but it should have a type field that lets me figure out what the kind of message is. So that's essentially all that I have for stubs and proxies, is the shape of the message that I expect. Okay. And the cool thing is it's all implemented on top of WebSockets, which is a generic protocol, so there's not much I need to do other than tell it to make one and send a message. It would be cool if React could call V8 engines Mojo. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds interesting. Oh, right. I was still trying to figure out how do I lock this so that it doesn't change when I do that. You can actually see it trying to send the messages, which is interesting to see. It's trying to set the log threshold to different values, and we're just ignoring it. We don't have any back-end code to do it. But I don't want it to actually change it locally. Although it doesn't really matter if it changes it locally. The server will override it, so maybe we'll just leave it for now. So that means I can remove this set state, and we'll call the front end done, and I can go back to the back end. So the server should fill out the log threshold, and then when we change it like that, the server should come back and say that it's now set to whatever. It'll be the final authority. So let's do that back end work. So back end work. It's flipping hats from front end to back end. I'm going to write the unit test first. So let's see. Collapse all this stuff. Client changes diagnostic log level. So similar to subscribing to a log, right? So we'll just take that test code and copy paste it and change it around. So if React could create a proxy without the WebSockets message protocol, by calling the V8 engine, if we're talking about Chrome. Oh, you're saying to make it even faster. Yeah, I actually haven't looked into how fast it is. I'll probably be looking at that at some point. If I run into performance issues and it turns out to be the WebSocket layer, then that would be important for me to know, right? All right, so this one is set up to once we receive 2 messages, we set a promise. Yeah, we'll use that. So yeah, I think I know how to use this. We set up our callbacks. We connect to the server, to the coordinator. We send it a message identifying ourselves as the admin. Then actually we can also just bundle this in here, that we subscribe to the log also. Identify as admin and subscribe to the log. So once we're subscribed to the log, we should get back the log level. And then what I'll do is we'll generate a diagnostic message that's under the threshold. Then we'll have the client send something that raises the threshold. I mean, it lowers the threshold, and then send again, and then we should see it. So what's one that'll go under the radar? Well, it's very important that you call your mom often, so we'll leave that at 7. But let's make, okay, yeah, this makes sense. We'll just have it send that one twice. No, I know. We'll just have one log message. Log message. We just leave it at 7, and I'll just have to make sure that when we configure this log, I had this log threshold set somewhere, right? Where'd I put it? Oh, I don't have it set up. What sets it? Oh, right now it's here, right? And that's something that is used by the orchestrator. Wrong thing. Oh no, it's given as a parameter, so it's the main program of the Realm server. The integration level layer. Diagnostic reporting threshold, there it is. Okay, that's actually a problem. If it goes there, oh, that controls what level the messages the coordinator sees at all. I think what I want to do is it'll see the message, but it just won't forward it to admins unless it's above yet another threshold. So yeah, actually so it's going to be it's a new threshold altogether then. So it's one we don't have configured yet. So we need to have it configured. So what should I set it to? I guess it should be a new configuration item here. Means I'll put it in here. So what? Admin log threshold. And what is the default to? How about everything? There. That means I want to put it in here as well. Okay. Only let's make the threshold 10 here by default. Oh, wait a minute, no. That'll screw up other tests. We'll make it 0, but then we'll actually change it. And let me remember, it's foo is the realm, right? Or is that in more than one place? Okay, and it's there. Realms, foo, servers, and then our index. So we need to change it up here. Realms, foo, servers, 0. This guy, and so we'll default him to 10. Then the initial log message, it will not be seen by the admin, and then we'll have the admin lower it down to 7 or 0, I guess, and then send it again, and then we'll see it. Okay, so here's the message. It's just log message. So at first we will not see it. So this is actually part of the act, isn't it? So we will see that we did not get it. So it's expect this not to be not true. At this point here, I need to change this. This was going to be set log level, set log threshold, right? And then log threshold 0. Because why not? And then we'll send it again. Oh, the code, it was already there. Well, sort of, it was already there. How come this isn't right? Actually, how many messages will be received? We'll get an initial batch and the log level. This is going to screw up other tests, isn't it? Oh well. I'm changing the number of messages we expect back to when we subscribe to the log. So we'll end up in the end with 3. Oh, I think the problem is I never got the future out of it. Let's get the future from it. Okay, right here is good enough. So it is expected to be not ready. And I think we can just poll it, right? Actually, we have to not only wait, but we should also go to the WebSocket server and tell it to wait. No, connection. Right? The little backdoor I put into the mock connection for have it wait one loop. Right, so that we didn't get all the messages. Then set it to 0. And then we have to let the coordinator run once more to receive the message, right? Actually, no, it'll receive it right away when we wait for that. Okay, so we send it again. And also await again. Now it should be ready. And what will we get back? We'll get back an empty batch. But now we'll have an additional message. Which is actually we'll have 4, won't we? We expect to get 4. The batch, the level. What did I name that? Log threshold. And we expect a log threshold initially of 10, right? Is that what I set it to? Whatever I set it to up here, whatever it's initially configured to. 10, okay. And then when we set it down to 0, we'll get an update that it's 0, and then we'll expect that we get back the log message immediately afterwards, right? Because after we set it, and then we send it, the message, right? Okay, good. Good. Build that. It's going to fail. We want to see a failure right away, and then we change the code to make the test pass. Good. So, we can actually see it actually didn't obey the threshold. We got that in the initial batch. Oh, no, we didn't. What we actually received was this. It's interesting. This doesn't print very well. So we got an empty batch, then we got the first log message, and then we got the second log message. So we shouldn't see the first log message. We should see the second one, but we should also see the two log threshold messages. Okay, good. I think it's working. So need to introduce this second threshold now. We'll do that first. So in the coordinator, when we have something reported, we're only going to do this. I guess we can have each client have its own separate log level. Why not? That chicken that you just started cooking looks amazing. I'm hungry. Now you're making me uncomfortable with my hunger. Okay, so we're going to change this. So we don't want to send them every message. We only want to send them the message if they subscribed and the threshold is high enough. So and the message level is at or equal to the threshold, which we don't have yet. Client.second.log threshold, right? So let's introduce that. Subscribe. So it goes near here. So size t, and we initialize it. We'll put it to 0 here, but it really needs to be initialized to whatever's in the configuration. This is the minimum level of diagnostic messages to report to this client. Okay, so I need to really initialize it when they announce themselves, right? So when we see the string admin is admin, so, well, actually, how about when they subscribe? So when they subscribe, we will then initialize the level, log threshold, from the configuration. So that is server config. Where's server config? I don't have it here. Our server config. I need this bunch of stuff. I don't know if I need all of this, but I need at least that part of it. And I guess it makes sense to just put it at the top. I'm coughing whenever I do that. Oh, I did pull it out here. This part is constant. I can just take this, all of this, and move it out, right? Why not do it every message? Why not indeed? Now our configuration is available to everyone. And it's our configuration, our server config, this entry in it, admin log threshold. And we need to tell it, because of me missing automatic conversion, that we want the int, and then we're going to typecast it as size t. Don't you have the context var? Context var. Yeah, what do I put in that context right now? I guess I could cache the reference to the configuration for the server there, but I'll probably do that eventually, but right now this is just to make it work. We are going to look up our own configuration every time we receive a message so that we have this available there. So that's the batch message. Now, after that, we're going to send the, well, let's make this a helper. Actually, why am I not using that send message from the other place? That's sort of an oversight. We're doing that. And there too. In fact, that's a special one, right? That's send message to orchestrator. Context coordinator. I wanna have only one point where I actually do the send text. Right. And then this. And then that. Why don't I overload it? The send text? It could just be the words I'm using, but my intention is that I only want one. Everything that ends up sending a text message to a WebSocket, I want to funnel through one method because I might want to do other things in addition to telling the WebSocket to send something. And I think I wrote this code before I had this method available, but now I do. I kind of want to funnel everything through that. The shared send message, and it's that comma encoded message. And it's client first encoded message. So I'm just kind of funneling everything through there. There's the only point where we call send text. Oh, let me adjust my camera. Hold on a sec. Okay. Now I'm at the point where the lighting is so bad, I could pick between green sparkles and semi-transparent face. I think I'm just going to give up with the... I know, I'll really smooth it away so it's harder to see. Yeah, sorry for my poverty webcam. I do want to distinguish orchestrator messages differently because the orchestrator is a special entity. It's it's the way backend server where this is sending a message. It could be sending it to a public entity. So that's why I have it one calling the other. It's just I'm anticipating needing to do different things there. That's all. Okay, send message. Okay, yeah. So send message, and it will be a... Oh, no, I wanted to... The whole point of this is I'm going to call it from more than one place, so I'm going to have another helper method. So send log threshold message. Send log threshold. And it will be client. Like that. And it'll be nearby these other helpers. Let's put it here. So it is getting... Hold on. What exactly is that? Yeah, right. A reference to a client record. Hold on. Is that type not available directly? Wait, what context am I in? Oh, because I'm in the shared properties thing. It's outside the class. Right, so I think I can get away with making it const. Let's see. It will be send message to client's WebSocket. No. Oh, right, it's not in the record. I can't do it that way. I guess I could put it. Right now, it is the key of the client's map is the WebSocket. So it's not here. It's actually it's the key, not the value. I could send it both. So it's ws comma JSON object to encoding, and the message is type log threshold client dot log threshold, and document this sucker. This method informs the client about its current log threshold. This holds, what did I call it? All the information the instance has on a public client. The client. I don't want to use that int to describe itself. This represents the client. This represents the entity to whom to report their current log threshold. I'll just shorten it to make the report. This is the WebSocket connection to the entity, or to the client. Okay. What's wrong there? That's weird. Oh, is it because that's size t and there's no conversion to JSON object? There we go. I need to fix that. I need to have automatic conversions to and from size t from my JSON class. Okay, now all that rigmarole is just so we can call it from two places. There's one place. The other place I want to do is where they change the threshold. Actually, let me test this for so far. It should be closer to passing. It crashed. I love it when things crash. You can run it and see why. It's a WebSocket null. It's WebSocket's null. Oh, that's a different place. Okay, I broke that. I guess the orchestrator port isn't set up yet. Oh, we're not sending to the orchestrator. What am I doing here? Yeah, what am I doing? Let me look at the version control for this. 736. Oh yeah, I guess I'm just stupid. I didn't mean to send it to the coordinator. It's just supposed to be send message. It's supposed to be context shared. Oops. Shared send message. And it's the WebSocket we just got. Apparently not. Oh, coordinator. Right, because it's that's the context of that callback. And coordinator is the shared pointer of the coordinator. All right. Cool. That's what I hope to see. Oh, another test broke though. Oh, the subscribe to log. Yeah, that's gonna fail because we get an extra message. Actually, that's not the right one. This is the right one, right? Yeah, we got this extra message. Let me fix that one first so we can actually just ignore that message. 2037. There's no slice thing for vectors. I wish there was. I'd really like to slice it. I could be really cheesy and just do this. +2. Basically, I want to ignore the extra message because it wasn't part of... Well, maybe it is expected to be part of that. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'll take that back. Take that back. We do want to expect that extra message, and that is this. The initial log level setting. Log threshold 0. So that test repaired, hopefully. All right. So we're just looking at... No, it's still wrong. Oh, it stopped at 2. Okay, okay. And the second log message comes after. So this one needs to wait for 3, not 2. Yeah, okay, good. Whoa. What happened? Oh. Isn't that funny how like just moving a single comma can screw everything up? Okay, that test is fixed now. It's just this, and it should be closer to what I want. So we're getting the empty batch and the initial log threshold of 10, which is what we expect. We're just not getting the log threshold to change and then the new log message. So that's the part I haven't done yet. So that will be when we receive this message that we're sending, set log threshold, right? So when we receive that, what did I call it? Receive? WebSocket, on WebSocket text, right? When we receive that message, right, here we go. This I need to refactor. You can see it's totally gross. I need to break it up into, there's different kinds of messages we can receive in different contexts, and I need to make them into individual functions, but I'm just, haven't gotten to it yet, sorry. So we're just tacking on another one to the end to make this even more gross. Okay, so essentially we're going to change the client's log threshold based off of what we get in the message. It's just log threshold, yeah. And then we will just send it back to them. But not message. What is it? Data. Oh, data as JSON. Data. Same thing. That should do it, right? What's my opinion on C++ templated engine? Do you mean just templates in general in C++? If so, my opinion is that they're really dangerous, but come in handy in certain cases. So some people get in really bad trouble by overusing templates. Also, the compiler's errors are really bad when it comes to templates. If you ever see me run into an error and it has something to do with a standard library template like vector or string, the error messages are so horrible. It just takes time to develop an intuition about what the heck the error messages are trying to tell you. But sometimes templates come in really handy. Like, let me show you an example. I implemented a hash algorithm called HMAC, and the HMAC can work with any kind of hash function. So I ended up making a lot of function templates. So HMAC itself, actually I have different variants of it. But let's say we're doing bytes to bytes. You pass in, how does this work? I guess this isn't a template, is it? Sorry, bad example. HMAX just takes a function. But where was it? Maybe it was in the implementation. I could have sworn it was HMAC, but I'm completely wrong. Okay, where was it? I know I did template somewhere. Not in these guys. Oh, that's right. I ended up, I don't trust templates, so I put it in its own header called templates. That's right. Right, so there are many hash functions, but they all share similar required mechanics. Like if you wanted to get the hash of a vector of bytes, or you wanted to get a hash of a string, there's a lot of conversions. You go between byte vectors and strings, and so I said, oh, this is a case where a template can come in, because then every hash function can just use the common templates to do any kind of conversions as they're needed. So, and the hash function is the template. So you call the hash function and then you do the conversion. So it comes in real convenient whenever you have many different variants of code that they only vary by a single variable type. So in this case, the variant thing is which hash function. So it could be SHA-1, SHA-256, but the running the hash function and then converting it to a string is the same for every hash function. So the only thing that varies here is hash. So that's probably where I would draw the line for myself. Comfort level with making my own templates is you end up writing the same function 3 times and it's the same except for one line of code. You would try to take that one line, try to take the essence of it and put it into a template argument, make the whole thing a template. Yeah, the standard library, I think, goes really overboard with templates, and the price you pay is in the error messages. If you use a template wrong, it's impossible to even read the messages sometimes, let alone decipher them. Cool. So it passed the unit test, so let me actually run it in the cluster. So restage and reserve the cluster. Now, oh, this must be a stale socket. I need to pick the newest one. It's kind of hard to see which one to look at. There we go. So we can see it's been set to 0 initially, right? We identify ourselves as admin. We ask for the cluster state. We ask for the log, and it said, okay, here's the cluster state. I'm the leader is 2. We're talking to 1. So leader is that guy over there. Leader is number 2, and Here are the diagnostic messages you missed. By the way, the current threshold is 0, and oh, here's a new one. So now if I raise it up to 1, we set it to 1 and we get back, okay, it's 1. So every time we change it, we should see a pair. We should see a request to change it, and then we should see a confirmation. Cool. So the only thing left now is I need to send all messages in from the main program. And then we'll see a whole bunch of stuff. Almost said a bad word there. Okay. Let's do that the simplest way, which would be we go to the configuration file and we just set it to 0. All right. We'll set this to 3 initially. But we'll set this one to 0. We're going to see a ton of messages coming out of the orchestrator, which maybe is a good idea. It didn't work. Oh, why didn't that not work? Oh, maybe it has its own log threshold. Yeah, it does. So actually, that's fine. I don't need to see them here. I just know that they're all now being piped into the server. So if I lower this, we start to see the heartbeat messages. If we lower it down to 0, we're seeing every single message. Awesome. Now we're getting a lot of messages. Actually, this is another problem I have to solve. It's always wanting to scroll to the bottom. Oh, this maybe is what I was seeing that Hideo was calling a bug. It's that every time we receive a new message, it wants to scroll back down to the bottom. That was it. Looking through standards, a giant tablet nightmare. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so now if I raise the threshold up to 3, now it's not generating new ones. Cool. But this leads me into another thing. I kind of want to tell the server to clear its log. Although I guess we could just clear it locally. It's just if we disconnect and reconnect, we'll get it again as the initial batch, right? Oh, interesting. Yeah, there was a timeout and leader swapped. Alert event in JS when the toolbar reaches the end? I don't know, but what I'm using is React virtualized, and with that, I'll show you. This render log, it's an auto sizer that I use around a list, and I have this scroll to index, so it's basically saying always scroll to length -1. So I kind of want to, that's another enhancement. Maybe I can do that now. Although my voice is getting tired. I would like to have it do this if you were at the bottom, so auto scroll if you're at the bottom, but if you were to scroll it away, I kind of want it to stop doing this. So basically make this conditional. Every time it renders, it either changes it or doesn't, depending on if you've unlocked it or not. You connect it and keep the width to the position at the bottom. Hook to the event. Well, it's how this list component works. So the way I understand it, the way it wants the right way. The way I understand how to make it scroll when it initially renders is to use the scroll to index. But yeah, I could use I could do it the way you're saying, yeah. But let me handle that later. I'm kind of just happy that I got this far. So when yeah, every time we reconnect, we're gonna start off at 0, right? Or we're going to start back at 3. So if I lowered it to 0 and disconnect and start it again, we're going to come back at 3 because it's that's a client-specific threshold. Good. Yeah, see, we're getting timeouts in the election process, I think, because the servers are not compiled without the optimization turned on, so they're kind of slow. They're sometimes not responding, not sending out the heartbeat quickly enough. Okay, now, what's next? Check that in. I might wrap up the stream soon because my voice is getting tired, and I'm getting near the end of my planned list. In fact, that was it, right? I did the whole plan. I just did controlling the log level. It was if I had time, I was going to do this stuff. Oh, I should put on the list the thing we were just talking about. Allow the log. Allow the user to. Oh well, really, it's supposed to be transparent to the user. Like, don't scroll to the bottom of the log unless it was already at the bottom before the next log message was received. I don't think I'm going to work on this today. I'll probably work on it Monday. Cause yeah, my voice getting tired and all that. I'll just check it in, I'll recap, and we'll go host someone else and give my voice a break. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing both some back-end and some front-end stuff. I don't claim to be the expert on either. I'm more comfortable on the back-end, but for all I know, I'm doing it wrong. The front-end is all obviously uncomfortable to me because I'm all new. Yeah, 3.5 hours, but I started late again. I've been starting late because it's taking me longer to get my plan together. Maybe I just need to start planning earlier in the day. Okay, so we added admin log thresholds. Do I want to keep that? I sort of don't want to keep that one. Let's stage everything and unstage what I don't want. I don't want to keep that one. Unstage this hunk. Reset it. All right. Oh, well, thanks for coming, Bug Found. Bug Found, you've been here before. I liked your name. People always come up with nicer names than I could have ever found. Local library. Well, I've been working on my coding, trying to make it nicer. The problem is I worked for so long at a company where I didn't get much feedback, and so when I did get feedback, it would be your code looks insane to read, like too hard to read. So I've been trying to work to clean it up, but I know I still have a long ways to go. Like when I know that when I look at stuff like this, it's like, wow, when the indent level gets that deep, it's bad. Like this is horrible. I need to break this up into probably a half dozen different functions. So yeah, I got some ways to go. Actually did a bunch of things here. Let me unstage this for now. Well, actually it might be kind of complicated. No, this is separate. Unstage that. It goes with the other one though. This one. That goes together as I move the button around. This, I just want to get the log threshold stuff in one place. This is a separate check-in. Sorry, had to cough again. I'm hoping my cold goes away soon. This is just a log threshold. Again, just a log threshold, right? Yep. Okay, cool. That went along with that change. Yep, I hope you guys don't all bail on me now. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap and then show you another stream. Please don't leave. Don't leave me. Let's see, Realm server. Add ability for admin to adjust log threshold. Sounds good. And then we'll do this rename one next. Admin console. Rename render connect to render connection buttons because it's got the disconnect button too. And this one was move forget configuration button into render configuration. I think that's what I called it, right? Render config. Actually, no, it's just config. That actually needs to be its own thing. That needs to be its own component or at least function. Not yet. Haven't done it yet. Push, and then we'll do status. So, for those that missed the beginning of the stream, what I worked on today, I was in the back end for a while fixing the test framework for Coordinator. It was mocking network connections. One thing the network connection has to handle is sending a message, send data. It's supposed to be asynchronous the way I designed it, but the mock was doing it synchronously, which was causing deadlocks. So I worked a bit on making it asynchronous. So that was involving making a queue, making a worker thread, posting the message to the queue, waking up the worker thread. The worker thread then cleans out the queue, so it's now separated into two threads. So there's a bit of machinery in C++ to get that right. So after that, I went onto the front end, and I handled reconnecting if the server goes down, so that worked out nicely. Then I tuned diagnostic message levels a bit, and then we added this ability to adjust how much diagnostic messages we're going to get. So mostly front-end stuff with some back-end work at the beginning is what we did today. Do I use JS on the client and not C++? Oh, why? Because it's a lot easier in the browser. I wanted to put the client in the browser because I don't want to have to do separate mobile development, separate Mac Linux development. I kind of wanted a vehicle that was already cross-platform, and it was an attractive platform. And also, I just want to learn JavaScript, and it also fits the web dev part of things. Like, it's really easy to do the WebSocket stuff because it's already built in. I didn't have to. This is all I needed to do WebSocket. I didn't have to do the client end in C++. Although I have done that. It's just a lot cleaner in my opinion. Because I didn't have to write it, someone else did. So yeah, there was no specific requirement. It's just I felt like it would be a great opportunity to learn JavaScript. The browser helps me run the client everywhere, so it all kind of fit together like that. Lib WebSockets or Boost ASI was better. Okay. I'll have to give that a look. I'll compare it with the JavaScript WebSocket. I'll give it a little honest comparison. So, okay. So I'm just thinking, what will I handle next time? I think what we'll do is reconfiguration. That'll be a fun little project. Oh, thanks for the follow. I didn't say your name right. Steth is. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to support reconfiguration, so that can be a real pain. And I want to do that early because if I don't, I'll probably build more and more code on top of a foundation where I assume the configuration is just static. But I really want my servers to be resilient to everything changing. The rug being pulled out from under it, the port numbers changing, the server configuration shape changing. I want to be able to handle all that. So that'll probably be the subject of Monday. These are the things I might just do off stream because they're little things, or some other time. So yeah, hope you enjoyed watching today. I'm gonna go peek and see who we can host. Who's still streaming? Yeah, thanks, Hideo. Well, maybe we'll just we'll go back to Adam's stream. I want to say bye to Adam anyway. He's going on vacation, and he actually got back into fixing bugs in his game after many weeks of DevOps. So we'll just go host Adam. So if you don't know Adam, he's working on a game called Botland. There's a link, and he's just wrapping up. So this will be the last day before his vacation. But if you haven't seen his stream, I definitely recommend it. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you again soon, probably Monday. And yeah, thanks.